Hello and welcome from the Auto.AI 2018. I'm Maria and I'm standing here with Chris Jacobs from Analog Devices. Hello and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me, Maria.
Yeah, thank you too. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your company?
My name is Chris Jacobs. I'm the Vice President of Autonomous Transportation and Automotive Safety at Analog Devices. So I represent one of 6 business units at ADI, and I'm responsible for all of the sensing technologies that are necessary for autonomous driving. Additionally, we have a long history in passive safety, so things like airbag sensors and gyroscopes for stability control, but that has now evolved into more predictive types of application, predictive sensing applications, radar, LiDAR, to inform autonomous driving now.
What fascinates you about autonomous driving?
So honestly, Maria, I like it because there's hard problems to solve.
Okay.
And this is something in which, as an engineer, over my last 25 years of my career, I have gravitated towards problems that have, one, a significant societal benefit, of which I think autonomous driving is one of those, but it also has significant engineering challenges associated with it. So engaging with universities, innovative OEMs, tier ones, disruptors, this is great for a geeky engineer and Analog Devices, because we feel like we can actually contribute something for the greater good.
This morning you talked about autonomous vehicles, safety and the importance of sensor data. Can you please explain that a bit?
So the way I look at it, Maria, is that the sensor data is the foundation upon which the house of autonomous driving is built. And the title of my paper was Garbage In, Garbage Out, which has the connotation that your AI algorithm and the performance of your autonomous system is only as good as the sensor data that you feed it to train it. And so my talk today went directly to that. How do we achieve very high resolution, high fidelity data that can properly feed into AI? And we're just in its beginning stages. There's a lot of challenges associated with that. There's a lot of computation necessary. Again, these go back to those challenges I mentioned earlier.
You also said that sensor data is like the game changer for autonomous vehicles. Can you explain that a bit?
If you just look at just a few years ago, sensors were not necessarily so central to the automobile and selling the automobile and the functionality associated with the automobile. The fact that the sensors have improved in performance, and there's a variety of things, whether it's the wavelength of the radar or the wavelength of the LiDAR systems, that are basically allowing us to get into a standard fitment that's appropriate for the automobile. So kind of moving from lab into fab, where we actually have something that can actually be utilized in these systems. And I think that that's the game changer. If you look at just a few years ago, those type of sensors and capability did not exist. Autonomous driving was unable to be achieved because we didn't have basically the sight around the car. Now with these new technologies, we're developing that perception system at the hardware level that is best informed for these AI. So I view it as really the game changer or the enabling technology around autonomous driving.
You also said that, or you are a big advocate of deep collaboration between the autonomous ecosystem, like you said, politics, society, all the manufacturers, and so on and so on. So how does this really affect, how does this ecosystem work, more or less?
Yeah, so very dynamic. If you just have to look at the industry publications over the last 2 years, you get very strange people working together on things, and that's very powerful because the problem that we're trying to solve transcends just a single radar sensor or an ECU problem or something like that. You have to bring in map providers. We need to have a proving ground, so we need to deal with the municipalities in order to get some dedicated real estate for us to experiment with these algorithms. We're engaging with software companies that traditionally never really had any footprint in automotive. We mentioned some of the gaming companies that are really putting more emphasis here. So to me, it's very exciting because we're getting together with new groups of people that are going to bring new ideas. And again, automotive, over the last decade, we have a tendency to talk to other automotive people. And so we believe each other, right? We agree. But then if we bring in a new set of people into the ecosystem that have never really done this before, it's an opportunity to completely rethink the problem set, approach it from a different point of view. And I think that that's the real power of what the ecosystem can provide.
We had some conferences also saying, okay, the world is growing together, and even in businesses, it's like collaboration all over the place. So does autonomous driving really can change the way we think about mobility and also, solve some of the problems like air pollution, traffic-packed cities, and so on and so on?
Yes. Oh, definitely. And the commute problem. You know, our commutes are getting longer and longer, and we're forced to be sitting in the car. We're not very productive, during those times, and it's obviously takes years off of your life because of all the frustration.
Yes.
So I definitely think the societal impact of autonomous driving, at the end of the day, I think that that's going to pull the economics through, right? We can look and say, is an autonomous vehicle just too expensive? But then new modes of mobility in terms of robo-taxis, where the hardware and the system lives a lot longer. It's a different economic model associated with mobility than it is with traditional automotive. And I think that, coupled with the societal benefit, whether it's improved safety or better commute times or pollution and whatnot, I think overall autonomous drive is very clear it's going to be a net positive in terms of economic growth for the world. So this is just not innovation for the sake of innovation's sake. I think it's innovation where we actually can make a huge impact on society in a very positive way.
Like engaging all the people that are now living in the suburbs or in a small village, and they now would be take part in the society because they have the cars and the mobility, more or less.
That's right. And it'll start in the cities, because cities are geofenced. They're a very stable environment. You can put sensors on buildings. Your cars can be trained in a small city center, and so we'll see a lot of that. But like you said, as the suburbs and more rural areas come online, that's where a lot of challenges are. You might think that they're less complex environments, but they are environments that are not well mapped, not well understood. They change frequently. And so doing dynamic mapping and dynamic understanding of that environment is going to be important to extend autonomous driving outside of the city centers into the worldwide kind of suburban and rural locations.
Last question. How do you like the conference so far?
This is terrific. I had 2 members of my team join this conference last year, and they both said that was the best conference that they attended on this subject matter. And they're a couple very smart guys, and so I was like, okay, then I think it's time for me to attend. So we have Analog Devices. We have 4 attendees. My boss is here, which is a very important piece, because it's a very important piece of our growth and what we think that we can do in the industry. And I think that this particular conference is absolutely perfect to have these discussions.
Thank you very much for this short chat, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Maria. I very much appreciate it.